Okay, sorry guys, I just want to make sure that everything is running fine. I've been having problems with my technology, but everything should be fine now. Okay. Let me just make sure that we are good and we are fine and we are running fine and everything is going well. Welcome everybody to the Overthinking Football Show. My name is George Mokwena. I'm your host, and this, of course, is the place where we love South African football, we love African football, and every now and then we might go overseas, even though we don't really do it that much. Now, because it's International Week, we get to do things that we don't normally do. Normally, we are doing reviews, we are speaking about games, khalaza, there's therapy, but today we're going to be going back to the foundations of the show, for those who are new, where we're going to have some really interesting and deep discussions about whatever it is that is going to be the topic for tonight. The show is on every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want to watch any of the episodes back, they are available in full on YouTube. Now, guys, I have 2 episodes of my podcast that I've dropped over the past 2 days. Please support. Head on over to YouTube and check it out and tell me what you guys are thinking about whatever it is that I'm talking about there. But today's show is going to be very simple. Oh, one more thing. Very interactive show. The show is about you guys speaking to me about whatever it is we have on the screen. So everybody's going to get 5 minutes. I'm going to have 4 panels. Everybody's going to get 5 minutes. 4 panels of 5 people. Each person will get 5 minutes. And please try and make it a minute or 2 of what you're thinking so I can ask you a question. Can we please respect each other, guys? I said, please, can we please respect the time and respect each other? Today, we're going to be dealing with all things development. If you want to jump into the show and lend your voice to the show, bottom of your screen, there's a button that says multi-guest. It's got a blue figure hugging a pink figure. Click on that. I let you in and we can have a discussion about whatever is happening here, guys. Tap the screen. Thank you so much for the support up to this point. So I'm going to jump straight into it. Today's overarching topic is going to be, is going overseas worth it? Because we have so many conversations about Aborile, Abombogazi, Abu Shabalala, and all of the other players in between. So today I'm going to be asking a couple of things that are going to go into development. It's going to go into our thoughts about where these players should be going and how they need to go and where they need to go, and maybe even why we are not creating the same kind of international players that we used to. And can you live a quiet life, a nice life, in South Africa? Guys, something's going wrong with my multi-guest every time. So that's what we're going to speak about today. Remember, 4 panels, 5 people in each panel. Each person is going to get 5 minutes. Okay, let me do this. I think I can force it. There we go. Yes. Okay. Guys, we requested, please unrequest and request again. So I can just get this pop up here. I'm so okay, there we go. Wait, guys. Ningahambi, I'm here. Ningahambi. Hey. Apologies, guys. The technology has been technologying me these past few weeks. Okay, here we go. Coach Agent, welcome, my brother. How are you? Coach Agent, can you hear me?
Good, Oti, how are you?
I'm good, my brother.
Yes, finally. I can hear
you. Finally. My brother, tell me about this topic that we have here. Here's Rile. He's sitting in between, I think, going overseas and staying. You can live a very nice life here. You can be a Tambazon, you can be a Tekomdise, you could be a Pirates legend, earn some really good money these days. Or you can go overseas and maybe you might become a Quinton Fortune, a Steven Pinar, or you might be a Percy Tau who wandered around Europe for a very long time. Where do you stand with this? Should Rile go overseas, and is going overseas worth it?
For me, Oti, I'm not a fan of South African players going overseas. Yeah, first of all is because if we keep on sending players overseas, our league will not develop. You understand? Because every time you have quality players, you send them away. Can you hear me very well?
I can hear you perfectly.
Yeah. So every time we have quality players, we send them away. And then now it gives rise to a problem to how we are going to develop and compete as a league. You understand? Because for your league to be strong and competitive, you need to keep on retaining the best players you have at the moment. You understand? So, and then second of all is I'm not a fan of my players going overseas. Why? First of all is because there's racism that side. You understand? In EPL, racism is one of the highest problem that African players are experiencing that side. You understand? And then someone once mentioned to me that the pay is better and everything. I told him that actually, if you look at it, it's not actually better because the standard of living that side actually is high. You understand? So now they are forced to take their salaries higher for players. You understand? And second of all, I don't like my players to go that side because when sometimes they have to play for our national team, they are given terms and conditions that we don't understand. Sometimes they will say, you know the story what I'm talking about. I'm not going to speak one by one. You know the stories around African players and everything. So I don't know why we put ourselves in that position, especially as a DSTV premiership. I feel like as we are at the point where there's no much difference between them and us. I mean, our national team played against USA, we murdered them. You understand? Uh, we played against Nigeria that has almost 99% of players that play in EPL or abroad or in Europe. We murdered Nigeria. You understand? We played against Morocco in AFCON. That is almost 90 something percent of players that play there. And we murdered them also. You understand? With our local players. You understand? So the question, I think Relebogile Mofokeng was once asked this question, what is the difference between football that side and here? He just said the difference is facilities. But at the end of the day, football is football. I mean, he
But
can
then,
shoot, you can shoot.
so do you think that our football can develop players to the point where they become world beaters consistently? So can we create a local team or local league that has players that can become top 20 in the world in terms of Bafana, can go to a World Cup and get to a semi-final similar to what Morocco did? Is it possible within our context of the league? Hey, guys, can you hear me?
You know why? And this question, I think someone asked me. We had once had a conversation. Yeah, we once had a conversation like that. He said to me, "Why are we not winning the World Cup?" I'm like, "Bruh, Europe has more teams than us there." That's the first thing that I noticed about Europe and having more teams that side. You understand? Already we are outnumbered in terms of probability. You understand? To even reach the semi-final for us Africans, if you look at the probability and do your maths, us reaching finals actually is winning the cup compared to them, according to the number of teams that they have. You understand? So second of all, what I realize is those guys actually they don't want us to be like them. You remember Masuluke once scored scissor kick for Poske Award, and now they
Yeah.
selected Giroud. I mean, everyone could disagree with that thing. You understand? So let's not hype them the way that they want to be hyped. For me, I
Okay.
don't think players like Worley and everything. And one last thing, OT, ne?
Very quickly,
If
yeah.
these players went abroad, ne? Yeah, what if they go abroad, ne? They fail to develop relationship with their local teams. So when they retire that side, their local teams that develop them cannot absorb them. You understand?
Okay.
To stay and give them position within the team
Okay.
because
For
they've been
for
away for so much long. So you
for
look at that side
yeah.
also.
For time, I'm gonna have to jump in. I want to bring in Bongs. Bongs, champ, welcome. Let's jump straight in. Orinka Tabena, is overseas worth it?
Definitely. I feel like it has two sides to it. To us, yes, it is really worth it because we get to get experience and see and see how we can we can learn from them so that we can compete, especially in the World Cup. Since Lorona, as Africans, we want to win the World Cup. On the to Europe, because sometimes when they're in Europe, they could get called up for their national teams, especially for Africa Cup of Nations, which is yes, because they want to focus on the league. For example, Lyle Foster was once called for
Yo, Bongs, I think your network, hey. Guys, is it Bongs or is it me? Please let me know in the comments.
Yeah, man. My network has been having problems due to electricity being cut off for like 2 days now.
Yeah, man. Hi, Bongs. But it's cutting a little bit too much. Okay, let's try. Give me your idea, then I'll just move on to somebody else.
All right, Oti. As I was saying, it's that Lyle Foster was once called up and they made up a thing of depression so that he couldn't come and represent South Africa for the Africa Cup of Nations. So it makes me wonder if why don't they let our African players come and represent us in Africa for the Africa Cup of Nations. So going to Europe makes our players feel less appreciated in going to Europe.
Marabongs, to be fair, I'm paying your salary, I'm developing your player, I'm making your player better. Your tournament happens in the middle of my league season. Why should I let this player go? Because clearly, if he gets injured, Kwana, or anything happens, already I'm missing out on that player for however many weeks that they're going to be gone. And now you want me to also take the risk of the injuries too.
Look, if it was a European player being called up for his national team, he was going to be let go to represent his national team. But because it's an African player, it's hard for him to just get a chance to go and represent his country.
Yeah.
Yes,
okay. Hey, Bongs, I think in network is pete, man. I'm gonna jump to Only K. Only K, welcome. How are you?
All right, no problem.
Good, my brother.
I'm good. Only K, tell me, what do you feel about this topic?
For me, I think, like I said in the comments, I think for us to force a player to remain this side, other than letting him explore his options and go overseas and see how well he will fare, playing against different sorts of players, all from different spheres of the world. I think it's better for us to let the player decide whether they feel like staying this side or going to play in European leagues.
So, so can our league create a world-class player?
Yeah, look, I think with some things we also need to be honest. We don't have, we could find someone, but in order to mold him into a proper player, I think we need to be honest with certain things. We don't have what it takes this side. That's from my point of view. I don't know if everybody else will agree, because if we're being honest, the facilities tsa rona, not all of them are up to standards, besides a few certain teams that could actually compete. So if you're saying we could find a player, then mold him into a good talent, that's only possible with 4 teams. I would be lying if I wouldn't count Stellenbosch. So Chiefs, Pirates, Sundowns, and then Stellenbosch. Other than that, which other team can actually develop? Because they don't have the resources, unlike the other 4 teams.
But then wouldn't it be the same that side? Does Mfukeng benefit from playing for Burnley? For example, does Mfukeng benefit from playing in the championship? Does Mfukeng benefit from playing in France, where in France there's also only 3 teams? Really? Look at Spain, look at Germany.
Yeah, that one I wouldn't disagree. But obviously, you need to really let me use one example that will be easier. Let's look at Brighton, for example. Brighton would go to all over South America. They would go to the black like the auction some South Africa. South South America. They would go there. They would look for players that aren't signed to any clubs. Batlala fella more batlala fella like in dirty areas. They would go there, look for players, take them from there, sign them, give them a professional contract, then mold them from there. For them, it's about turning a player into into profitability. So I wouldn't say Mufukeng going to a team that's not in the big 6 would be a train smash, because obviously if he wants to prove himself, you're not going to go to a team that's in the big 6 and expect yourself to play full 90 every game. It's impossible. So it's better to go to a team that doesn't have that much of an expectation of you to perform well, but they want to see if you'll give them an output that they are looking for. So at least they know once they are done with you, but they don't actually care or you leave. They just want to sell you so they can make a profit from you. If you understand what I'm saying.
For time, I'm going to jump in. Let me bring in Simpio. Simpio, welcome to the show. Tell me, what do you think about the topic? Oh. Yeah, Simpio.
Oh, yeah. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks to you, my brother.
I'm also good. I think this one is a very interesting topic, first of all, because you need to look at too many dynamics when it comes to African football. First thing, I think it was Bongs who said European teams refuse to release players. First of all, we need to look at the African Federation as a whole. Why is the tournament being played in mid-season, during the mid-season, where you should let players you should let players be released maybe end of the season, like most European tournaments do. You look at the World Cup. The World Cup is at the end of the season, because the whole federation knows that no club would have a problem with players being released at that point. And also, when we look at the money situation when it comes to players, you need to remember most of our African players, or South African players at most, they literally come from nothing. So when a European team comes with an offer that exceed their expectations, surely they will want to go there. And also, when you look at what we do as South African teams, I think only OK just said most of our teams really don't compete. So how can you create what the greatest player to ever come out of Africa when I think only five teams are really competing for the league right now? So how will you really say I'm creating a player of high magnitude when only 5 teams are really competing? There was a Tico. Tico didn't go overseas. But will you really say his level of playing or his level came to a point whereby you can say Tico was better than a player who was based in Europe? There was also...
Is that a question we should ask? That are there enough opportunities for those tests to happen? I mean, you look at Bafana, we haven't played a top 30 team in how long, for example?
And also, when was the last time we really qualified for a World Cup? That was 2002. We can't count 2010, because 2010 we automatically were there. So can you say we really have players that is our league really at a point whereby we can create players that can compete overseas? Because right now we have a player, I think is it Sishumba or something, who was born in Belgium, and he's competing, and they bound him as like the next big player in Belgium because the development day is different from ours. And you need to remember, most of our players here aren't really developed. Somebody would just come up from a tournament, a Lokshin, then the next thing they're playing in the DRC. Was that player really developed to their fullest potential as well? We need to ask
But
ourselves.
why? Why are we not developing these players to that level? What's missing?
For me, I would say most people or most teams that are of high level, they are not really putting investment. They just want to buy the final product when everything is at its full. Because we need to remember, I'm an Orlando Pirates supporter, but we need to be honest. We really did.
Hey, Simpiwe. Hey, guys, is it me? Ooh, I'm starting to think it's me.
Were developed by Orlando Pirates. Which player right now, Mamelodi Sundowns has khoza. Khoza is their only development player to ever come from the under 13s. That needs to tell you something. If that's their only player, how many players has Sundowns had in their DDC? And you only counting that one player. I think one or two teams that can really say we developed this player from the beginning, which will be Supersport, which is no longer there. Also, Stellenbosch has that claim. I think also Bloem Celtic at some point really did that thing. So you can't really say we need our players to be performing at this league when a player can literally go to Europe and learn new things. Yes, and also there was that argument that we beat teams that have European-based players.
Yeah.
Like we need to remember, it also comes with inspiration. Most of those Nigerian players were not born in Nigeria. They can't even speak the indigenous language from there. So when we have players that can speak isiZulu, Setswana, or those languages, they literally know the life of South Africa. So when I go to Europe, I already know who I'm representing, rather than somebody we just bring from Europe who doesn't know a thing about South Africa. They only come here to play only.
Okay. For time, I'm going to have to jump in. Let me bring in Sindile. Sindile, welcome.
Hey, thank you, my man. Ngiyazwakala kahle baba.
No, umnandi.
All right, thank you so much. You know, it's the first time engage nani guys kule platform yako, but I've always listened to you guys. So thank you for an opportunity. Thank you so much. Bona, your question says, is going overseas worth it? The answer is yes.
Okay.
It is worth it. You know, if football, it's a short-term career, and it's a career. You must not forget that they're not playing for fun. Some people are supporting their families with this football. As a short-term career, there are people who are relying only on football. Some of them we know. Let's just face the facts in South Africa that some of them, they didn't even go to school. That's the only thing that they know. From football, they will start building their careers, buying properties and all those things. So you need every man. It's worth it. Overseas, we're not going to talk only about the infrastructure, but we're talking about the growth. Yama players, it's paying very well. People who go there, if you are smart enough and you play well, you can be successful in this thing. I'm not saying in South Africa you can't, but nobody ozongitshela ukuthi doesn't want promotion in life. That's promotion. For me, it's more like a promotion more than anything. You know, as well, if relay, for instance, goes overseas, you also open up space for others. The youngsters also recognize you. That means when somebody moves, just like any other job, you move away from a position and then somebody else comes in. So it creates more opportunities as well. When somebody are playing in DDC or a lower league, why do they want to go to PSL? If it's not worth it to go to PSL, same as going to overseas. It's worth it to go overseas because it's more of a career where develop more exposure and more. As soon as you finish playing there, if you've done right investments, then you can move to other things. You can be a business person after that because we know it's a short-time career. So for me to say, is it good to go there? No doubt about it. It's good to go overseas, and most of us, again in South Africa, we watch this. Why do we watch European League? Why do we so interested in European League if it's not worth it? Why are
Can
we
I ask
watching
you?
it? So not only that, the football is
I wanted to go back to your money, the money thing. Surely a player like Relay could get $1 million at some point in his career, get $1 million a month. Maybe do some brand deals and get some money there. Maybe because again, purchasing power this side is easier. It's a little bit easier to keep your money. It's a little bit easier to spend your money this side. Surely he could work his way up to a very comfortable life in SA.
Yes, of course. No doubt about it. That's why I'm saying as well, earning $1 million on its own alone, it's not enough. It's how you use it as well, how you use your $1 million. But tell me any millionaire or a billionaire now who still doesn't want more money. Everybody wants more money. $1 million is nothing. You spend a cent, you're no longer a millionaire. So we always aspire to get more because, it's an investment. It's a future. You're building a future, not only for yourself. You want to leave a legacy. You want to support, especially as black people, maybe the black tax. We're working for our families. We need to improve there and there. It's never enough. So as much as you can in that short space of time, people at the age of 30, they're already thinking about retiring in football. Where I'm working at the age of 60 to 65, I'm thinking of retiring. So somebody who doesn't even have an education, who doesn't have any background, he needs to make more money as much as possible. Not that, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's all about money. It's not all about money. It's also a passion. A football, you're not just playing for money. It's also something that you love, but it's a talent that God has given you. You should use it fully to be able to sustain yourself. It's in everything that we do. Even if I'm smart, I'm a lawyer, and you are not a lawyer, but I can grasp things easy to become a lawyer. I don't become a lawyer because I'm smart. I'm also becoming a lawyer because I'll be able to make money. It's a business. I can open my law firm. So even in football, it's the same thing. We need to encourage them to go and play overseas. If the chance comes in, go and play overseas, open up space for others, grow. Let's see what you can do. Open foundations, open clubs. Abo Mekati, they've got money. Mekati went back to Manchester and went there and assist because he was recognized all over the world. Abo Khatebe, they've got statues at least. That guy will never go hungry. If he can go hungry here in South Africa, he'll go back there. Here in South Africa, yes, we have investments, we have everything, but everything of us is run by government. The infrastructure is not good. A government, monies are not coming through. These clubs that we're talking about, not all of them are wealthy. Not all of them they can afford to do what we do. Not all of them can buy stadiums to have their own investments. So that's my take. Thank you so much.
For time, I'm going to jump in. Guys, we're going to keep rolling. The next panel is going to start soon. I just want us to also be careful. When I interviewed Uchosta, he made aware that, even if the money is nice, what happens is that your quality of life, your quality of some of the things goes down. You may feel as though you're making more money, but you are the outsider, you are the foreigner, you're the plumber, new language, new culture, lack of social interactions most of the time with what he was saying. And there's a bunch of struggles, weather, this, that, and the other, racism and all of that also comes into play. And I guess the question I'm asking, or I was asking, is not necessarily that it's just about the money, but a person like Mfukeng, if he plays his cards right, could be very comfortable in South Africa, could be super comfortable in South Africa, and could be okay. And I guess the main thing that I want maybe the next panel to speak on, obviously you can speak on what you want, but if you could please touch on this. Going overseas, all of the players that we speak about that have been huge players barely played in the PSL. Does that have an influence on it? That if you stay in the PSL longer, what are your chances to go overseas and get a proper team, a big team? What are your chances of moving on? When you look at the age of Mfukeng, can he do the progressions? Because What about Pesita and all those guys? So again, sorry, to simplify it, the people who've gone overseas and being incredibly successful from a South African perspective, Bo Penny, Bo Steven Pinar, Bo Quinton Fortune, those guys, I can't say they spent too long in the PSL. Does that have a factor in this? Ngocha, welcome. How are you?
I'm okay, man. Look, it does have a factor. It does have a factor, Uguti, they did not play in the PSL. But the factor is the quality of development coaches that Benny McCarthy got, that Daryl Barkley got. Those are that's the big difference here. That Steven Pinard got. The quality of coaches that he got from Ajax are the same quality of coaches that exist in Holland and other places.
Okay.
So those players then got the benefits of developing at a proper development at a good age so that they can excel. Those who didn't excel, it's fine, but they still got that. What makes overseas always better than us for now is the fact that we still don't have so many good development coaches. You know, you'd hear about Braspanbani, who picks out players as a scout and can coach. But when it comes to his credential in terms of developing players, it's neither here or there. It's about the lucky chance of knowing someone or finding a boy, SM9, and you know, getting him trained. But development is not just solely based on the pitch. Even outside the pitch, and Europe knows how to do that.
Yeah.
They know how to do that. Living that simple life, take a bicycle to work, living that in a foster family. That is the basic way of how development works in Europe. Whether you're from Asia or you're from America or you're from Brazil or whatever, well, once you get there, that's the type of lifestyle you then live, just so that you can succeed. Now, if you want Mfokeng to be comfortable, what is this comfort going to produce out of him? He's not going to be tested in terms of his ability in our league. No matter how many Brazilian players we buy, he will not be tested week in, week out. He would then just be comfortable, and we would not see the best of him ever. Okay. Therefore, it's best that he then leaves earlier so that he can challenge himself around the next best players in the world. Whether it's in development leagues, whether it's in actual big leagues, because in Spain, even in League 2 in Spain, it's good. Even in League Championship League, it's good, because the players you play there will be playing in the top league next. Some of them are international players by then. So the level of challenges that Mfokeng would get, even playing on a second tier league in Germany, in Spain, or anyway, is much better than the PSL. And it's more consistent. He'll be. Yeah.
Have we proven that though? Because I don't remember a player from the championship coming into the PSL and doing coming into Bafana and doing crazy things or uplifting Bafana to that level.
Foster,
Are we just saying it?
No. The thing is, because we don't have many players getting to Europe and in all these pockets that we are talking about, we then don't have the statistics to then use to say, Yazin, this is what we have. Most of the players that went overseas at one time, it was during the time that we became AFCON champions, and around that time, most players were going overseas, and we had all Vert and all these players, Uzuma and them playing up. They were respected because they were also developed at that time. But the pace in which football moves fast we have never been able to catch up in that, in terms of having coaches, in terms of having teams that support it. That's why it's always best. Our best players, let them go overseas, it's fine. Let them go overseas, we'll continue developing our teams. But to say that going overseas is a negative thing, we're going to have the same stories of drunken masters because they're frustrated. Too much talent in the PSL, they will not. Therefore, they end up being no space for young players to be developed properly. You look at Sundowns. What's happening? Oma Bennett. We've been talking about a young player. Even the ones who graduated ahead of him, they still call young players today, but they don't even have 100 caps. But they've been there for like 5-6 years. Yeah, so instead of crowding our PSL with a lot of talent and no space to play, let the best of the talent go overseas so that there'll be space for other players to come in and be developed properly.
For
while
time, I'm
we're
gonna
improving our coaches and development.
For time, I'm going to jump in, guys. I love that we're keeping time. Koke, welcome. Oh, wait, oh, go on, Koke. Let me see if I can help you come back in. Koke? Okay, I'm going to bring Talia in. Koke, take yourself off and then I'll bring you back on. Talia, welcome. How are you?
Sorry
There we
about
go.
that. I was struggling to unmute myself. I'm good.
How are
I'm
you?
good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Talia. Where do you sit on this topic?
Okay, so before I get into this, I just want to understand when we say is going overseas worth it? Worth it for who? The player, the team, management? Who are we talking about?
I would say let's go with the player.
Okay, so with the player, right? For me, I think on a personal capacity, when the player makes the decision to actually go overseas, they're considering certain aspects, such as exposure, such as experience, also competing on an international level, right? But I have to disagree. I think one of the guys in the panel mentioned something about overseas paying better than South Africa. South African teams, I disagree with that. The reason why I disagree with that, because I think some of these South African teams, especially the big three teams, they pay quite well. The only problem that I can actually identify with our South African players is the fact that they might not have the best, or they might not have at all financial advisors that can actually assist in terms of insure, invest, and lending opportunities that soccer players have. Because remember, the average career life cycle of soccer players ranges between 10 to 15 years. So these are people that have to use what they have in that short span of time to acquire assets, to make the relevant investments, and to ensure that they are insured, covered should retirement come. So this is where also personal branding comes into play. So the reason why some of the people in the comment section are talking about development and I think we are lacking that aspect of our soccer players where we get to develop them as personal brands, not just as a person who plays in the field. The reason why I'm saying this is because as a soccer player, you have to find a way where you can associate your income to your personal brand as opposed to your professionalism. But these two things go hand in hand. But in South Africa, we don't have either organizations or agents or specialists that actually cater to our soccer players in that aspect. That's why soccer players think that it's best to go overseas, make a name for themselves, and then come back. However, when I revert this matter back into the field, I think one of the cons of actually going overseas and then coming back and playing in South Africa is that there's a different style of play, right? You have absorbed overseas that is not incorporated in South Africa. I say, for instance, for me, I would say there's a disky way of playing soccer in South Africa. And if we take, for instance, I'm not a fan of taking coaches overseas and then implementing them in South Africa, because there is a way South Africans play soccer that is completely different to how Europeans play soccer. If we could find coaches that are grown and harnessed in South Africa that can actually improve that element of playing soccer in the South African way, I think we'll do brilliantly well.
For time, I just want to jump in there. Does that influence why maybe teams overseas don't want players that have grown up in the disky way, and maybe why some of the PSL guys who have been in the PSL for a while don't usually make the big moves?
Yeah, because remember, here's the thing. If you were groomed to play a certain way, you grow accustomed to that, and you will not necessarily fit in other teams, because remember, there's different coaching approaches, right? There are coaches that use analytical approaches, there are coaches that use integrated approaches, there are coaches that use tactical periodization in their coaching structure. So all of these things, and tactical periodization is basically more famous in the European League, right? Because they are more analytical that side. Here in our South African soccer culture, there's also a different way of doing things. So I think if we can find coaches that are born and bred in South Africa and they are developed and harnessed, I think we can actually find a way to make our way of soccer, work for us, because that's basically what the Europeans did. They didn't actually go out and try to find different ways of doing things. They incorporated what they knew into their game plan, and it works wonders for them. So it's very uncomfortable to find that you get a coach from overseas and you get them here. There's a bridge in language, there's a bridge in structure. He doesn't understand the style of play of other players, of the South African players, therefore he cannot actually give proper instructions. And I think that's currently what's happening with Kaizer Chiefs. There's a lot of miscommunication when it comes to execution, when it comes to the gameplay, when it comes to the team being cohesive. There's a lot of miscommunication. So that for me is one of the things that can actually help.
I want to ask you 30 seconds. Personal branding stuff, or the personal branding side. Can a player live a super comfortable life if they were to harness your personal branding, your opportunities to do some stuff, corporate things? Do you think that they could, from a money aspect?
Yes, they can.
Going over.
100%. The only thing that I am so passionate about our South African young players is that coaches and your agents, they only focus on harnessing the player within the pitch. They're not working on basically developing the player as a brand and developing the player as a person who in the future would have to rely in their name to actually make a living. And that's where personal branding comes into play. So the moment South Africa gets to incorporate those two components, we will see our players actually flourishing on both a personal and a professional capacity. Oh, that's my time. Guys, I told you that I told you I'm gonna take 10 minutes today. I don't understand.
We're gonna come back, Talia.
It's all good.
Thank you so much, Talia.
Not a problem.
Let me go to Ray. Ray, welcome. Oh, Ray.
Hey, Mr. Oti, Ishashkis, man. Yo, I got distracted with that English, Mr. Oti. Hey,
Yeah, but I mean, I'll let Talia speak then.
Manzo somewhere. I'm beg I
Man is shake and I'll let Talia speak. It's fine.
I'm like hey, it's not a shaker, man. Hey.
Oh, okay.
As a gentleman, I'll let her speak.
Let's go. Talia.
Yeah, 20 minutes.
Talia, you have been given time.
Hi, Borei. What's going on now?
Man, it's just your English, man. I fell in love with your English, man.
You're shaky.
I
You're shaky.
Everything, man, when you say something.
Shaky. Okay. No, Talia, so then while I still have you, then I wanted to ask you, this thing about monies and all of that stuff, do you find that one of the reasons our players are not doing well is that when they go overseas, that is part and parcel of the contract, it's part and parcel of the deal, it's part and parcel of everything, whereas here we're a little bit lax with all things financial?
Yeah. Let me tell you, we don't lack all things financial. I think we've just haven't tapped into the market that caters for soccer players. That's it. If we can get financial advisors that actually develop products, for instance, insure, invest, lending products that cater to soccer players. Soccer players make a good living in South Africa. And you get to see that by their lavish lifestyle. The problem is they're not getting the proper financial advice that helps them make the right decisions to ensure that that provides for them even post-retirement. Like I said, the average career life cycle of a soccer player ranges between 10 to 15 years, depending on when they started in the official league. And you have to ensure that with that specific paycheck, let's say, for instance, you get paid 100,000 Rand a month, 100,000 Rand a month, right? Excluding bonuses, right? Let's say if you get a proper financial planner, this person can say, okay, let's take 30% of that 100,000 Rand, invest it in a this specific investment. I'm not going to name names. And then let's take 20% and then we put it into lending so that you can make sure that within the 10 years you are playing, you have actually paid off all of your assets. So by the time you retire, you own your house, you own your car, and you have proper investments. And remember, the nice thing about financial investments is that they accrue interest. And you can actually, if you've made a significant investment into your account, you can actually live off of the interest earned from those specific investments. So like I said, South African players, for me, They make a good living. They just need the proper support structure. And like I said, coaches and agents are not necessarily focused on personal aspects that is soccer players, but they're only focused on what they can produce in the field. So that's another thing.
Is there advantages for keeping players in the dark?
For them, I think so. For them, I do think so. I mean, they can. Remember, I spoke to someone who's also playing in the PSL the last time, and then they said to me, listen, we don't even get to sit when our contracts are being drawn up. So meaning I don't know who's negotiating for me. And I stressed this to him and I said, listen, if you were to build your personal brand, this will give you a leg up, because the moment specific teams see you socializing and networking with proper brands and reputable brands out there, they would want to ensure that they retain you, because that also makes money for them, and it gives them recognition. So when they are having these specific negotiations regarding your contracts, your duration, your bonuses, and all of that, this will actually give you a leg up. And this is basically one of the things that's very close to my heart, where I want to work with younger soccer players to actually develop them on a personal level, meaning build a personal brand that's going to help them actually elevate when it comes to being a proper professional soccer player. So yeah, that's my two cents.
I wanted to ask you a very unfair question, but I'm going to leave it for now.
Unfair question? What do you mean an unfair question? Who said, okay, wait, Sindile says what? They pay 50 times than us.
No.
Sindile, they might pay 50 times than us, but remember the cost of living that side also accommodates that elevation of income, right? So we also have to also incorporate those things. We don't know the property market that side. We don't know the rental, rental agreements, how much they are that side. We don't know anything about the cost of living that side.
And the
So we also
purchasing
have to
power.
incorporate those things.
Okay. I'll ask you the very unfair question, Talia.
That's gonna cover me.
Okay, you see. Let me not.
Boo, my OT, boo,
Let
how
me
do you
not.
know?
No,
Okay, it's fine.
I wanted to
It's
ask
fine,
you.
don't.
I wanted to ask you, is it in the leagues and the teams, is it in the teams' benefit for them to have players that understand these finances?
Okay, now you're trying to put me in a corner.
Abba? Okay,
I can answer you, but I feel I'll be saying something that I'm not supposed to be saying.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
No.
Let me bring it. Thank you, Talia. Let me bring in Koke.
Hola, OT, and greetings to everyone in the panel in the comment section. Yeah, within them ceiling OT, we share screen question ngale question leyo. That's something nami ngizongena kuyo ngimzwile usisi lana ayithasha kancane. The thing is OT, to be honest, before siyakude, players are meant to feel they're being given or being signed to a professional team with PSL wenzele favor kahle kahle. You are meant to feel like that ukuthi wenzele favor, you know. If it wasn't for us signing you, you will still be playing with NFD or somewhere or a Kasudlala tournament. And because of that, it's hard with bafike kule point lo sisi la akakhuluma ngayo ukuthi understanding of it, because now lento akakhuluma ngayo, he's talking about players who understand i-value yabo, you know. For you to be able to negotiate on the table ukuthi I want this, I want that. Yes, lento akhuluma ngayo kakhulu akhala ngayo ama image rights. You can't be on the table where you are coming from a desperate point of view, and then you talk about image rights. Because you are being told siwenzele favor ukutula. And that's what's killing our football. And that's the same thing Lena but that's the same thing ends with some of our players. The ends with some of our players don't go to overseas because you are being told it's a favor for us to be Lana, and today you are being wanted overseas because of us. So Tina, we are the ones who would say go overseas. You cannot come and tell us you want to go overseas just because a team overseas yakfun. That's the uncomfortable part. And then is it beneficial to our players going overseas? Definitely it is beneficial to our players going overseas. Why ngisho kanjalo? I'm saying it's beneficial because of the way the game is played overseas. Everything is paid detail. It's details. Everything is well organized. From where it go, must figure ground in what is it esiyenzayo. I want to give you example ephilayo. Mina ngithanda ukwenza ama-example aphilayo. Look at u-Andile Jali when he was playing for i-Ducks, playing for i-Pirates at his peak, Opamanyis. He was good. But look at Andile Jali makabuya overseas. At Pirates, yes, it's in his nature to be aggressive, being that middle fielder, ozangamanda. But the passing ability was very poor. But look at him now, Makasabuya with Sundowns, his passing range. He could pass a striker from a deep position. Quality passing away, Nipola Lamba Pants, little carpet, which is something he could not do with Pirates. So it tells you good for him going to a Russia was something beneficial. There's this Uyamazi for sure, and Patosi. There's this other goal I call and Patosi against the Orlando Pirates. He simply peeled off a defender. And then he defended little clear ball. It was a cross into the box. And then Ama defender were heading it back, trying to clear the ball in the head. Anna Patosi, having that experience of Uglala overseas, he did not challenge the defender. He had to ahead in eye. No, instead he peeled off and turn and face it defend. It defender malhead la ball, la wela gup Chestinera Anna Patosi. He did magic with that ball. So
but
it
then,
shows
but then, Koke, is it that much of a difference? Because I think when we speak about overseas, skhulume ngathi abo Pinar, abo Penny, skhulume ngathi, abo Sean Patlet, maybe nabo Dikhashwe. But most of the time when our players are leaving to go overseas, especially around Rile's age, they're going to, more Russia, they're going to those countries. And does that, in general, does it translate that much more? Or is it just good you're going to come back and you're going to dominate the league, but then in terms of, national team or doing things like that, you pretty much failed when you came back? Does that make sense?
Repeat. Okay, is that much of a big difference being overseas and being here in South Africa?
No, Ngisho, for the growth of the player. Like, Benny comes back with a Champions League medal. He comes back, he's the top goal scorer of Bafana. But then the rest of the guys that you're speaking about, Abu Patosi, Abu Chali, they essentially failed overseas and came back. And yeah, they were the best players in league, but is it worth going all the way overseas if you could just stay and maybe live a comfortable life without having to do it up and down?
I think it's worth the risk. It's worth the risk, Uti. And it's something that I feel, Uti, lento ekhulumayo, even when they're coming back. You look at Esther with Amazulu. Esther, for me, he was one of the best players last season, Mangembegin. But because we Amazulu, a lot of people could not recognize that. And you take Esther, performances work. Even Bongani Zungu. As much as people think Bongani Zungu paid, look at the way Bongani Zungu adlala ngakhona. There's a lot you can learn from Bongani Zungu for a young player, even as a coach. Coach position what happened, what meaning ngibona ngayo ne Oti, and it happened to even Steve Pinar wayekhuluma naye ukuthi when mobuya overseas, because of that thing, that gap, le gap encane when uyibonayo, it matters a lot. Because the way yena acabanga ngakhona akusi the way thina sicabanga ngakhona. Oti mawucabanga ngendlela ehlukile, we one. You've got this way of thinking which is above us all. You'll end up mawudlala nathi kube ngathi uwinkomo. Let me give you an example. Ubilliard lesikhatha kwi-Kaizer Chiefs mongathi inkomo, because ilevel yaka-billiard akacabanga ngayo. Ujwayele ukudlala nabo Thembazwane, ujwayele ukudlala nabantu certain level, but manje uyabuya la uza kwi-Kaizer Chiefs, he has to drop i-standard. Ubilliard wenza ama-movement and then you find uHappy Mashiyane aka-understand ukuthi ubilliard ufuna ibhola kuphi, kwenzakalani. Ubilliard ubamba ibhola, there's a certain movement aka-expected. So it's the same thing namajita mawaya overseas as la South Africa. I feel that small difference, it's not big, but that small difference counts.
Okay.
You look at the way adlala ngakhona kwi-Cape Town City last season, Mukocha, General Mukocha.
Yeah.
Mukocha. You look at Mukocha. Mukocha is high quality, but tina recognize Mukocha.
Okay. For time, I'm gonna jump in. Guys, I guess the question I was asking at the end before the next panel comes in was more about I remember Parker's story. He left and he went overseas and then he had some problems that side and then he came back. You know, Dolly went overseas, came back. A bunch of players went overseas and came back. And I understand that they're better in terms of the way that they play, or slightly better, or just better. Mara, was it worth it to go to, I think, Parker went to Prague. Kinkana. I'm forgetting the country, but he went overseas and came back. And I'm like, well, it's great that you went and came back, Mara. You could have been here and lived a very comfortable life and been a star and captain Chiefs and did all that stuff and just stayed. You know, so that's why I'm, yeah, case mode, no, kinale order, don't worry.
Okay.
So that's my thing that I'm asking here, that I understand if you're going overseas and you're becoming a Penny McCarthy and you've got a Champions League medal and that's directly translating to your Bafana stuff and maybe helping the country and you've got the money and all of that. But a lot of them don't make it to the top. We haven't had a top level player in a very long time. I think Lyle Foster's the closest we've had, and he plays for a team that's at the bottom of the EPL. No disrespect, right? We don't have Abu Quintin Fortune, Abu Steven Pinar, and even those guys, they didn't really play in South Africa. So again, is it worth it in the long run for you to go? Or maybe the example I should use is Percy. Percy Tau, Wahamba, Belgium, Brighton, came back to Ahly. He's playing in Vietnam right now. Was it really worth it to leave Sundowns, where he could have maybe played a Club World Cup, could have maybe won a couple of Champions Leagues, maybe if he was the difference maker? That's what I mean when I'm talking about worth it right now. But anyway, let me bring in ABM. ABM, welcome. Where do you get into this situation, Manu? Ungena upila.
Champ.
Ciao, champ.
Champ. Unjani, champ?
Mnandi, champ.
Are you good, man?
Nah, I'm good, my brother.
I can say you're good. Njengoba i-team yakho idliwe and the fact ukuthi manje
international break. International break. I'm out of office. Out of office. My brother, where do you get in with this?
Cool. I do not think it's a good idea for players to leave to go to Europe. The reason why I say that is to add on to your point. To go to Penny McCarthy is like the benchmark of what could be. But we have to look at things as what they are. You understand? And the things as what they are right now is effectively football as a whole is converging to a point to the gaps between like certain football federations is closing.
So?
The gaps are still there, but they're not as big as how they used to be. So now there's like an incentive to say, okay, because of this convergence of football, Uriele, for example, his style of football, even though let's say like a person like Lamine Yamal, obviously he's an exception. He got into the league at the age of 15 and so on and so forth. So there's that gap. So there is that deficit gap in terms of like technical ability and as well as like game reading and so forth and so forth. But then if you compare the game right now as to how it was like 10 to 15 years ago, you say go to 10 to 15 years ago, the gap would be very wide. But Konamanje, as time goes on, as information about football as a whole has become more and more decentralized, it's become more and more accessible.
Have we put it into practice?
It's due to
have we put it into practice? Because we can maybe speak Catenaccio and all those things, but actually putting it into practice is different. Is it a case where we feel like it's smaller because we now all say counter press? I'm just going to use a stupid example, but in terms of the actual player on the ground, has it really gotten that much better?
Good question. Because right now this discussion can go back to the whole Mbogazi debacle. Ukuthi Mbogazi yena should he go for the under-20 World Cup? You know, it goes along those lines. In terms of, okay, had Mbogazi gone to the under-20 World Cup, in terms of like exposure and him having like the ocular lens on him with like other bigger teams and so forth and so forth, I do get that Uguti, that there are like certain opportunities that are going to be exposed. But me personally, the problem that I see right now, Uguti, the reason why I don't think it's worth it is simply because of the gap between of what these players expect to be when they get there, as opposed to what actually happens. Because some of these players, when they go overseas, they want to play for the big club. They want to play for the Chelsea. They want to play for the Barcelona. That's how they see themselves. Mara, what they imagine is not what is. So I feel good to some of these players, they do become disappointed because the expectations are not met. And due to those lack of expectations, psychologically, it does hit them in terms of like the gameplay to say, why am I here? Because this is not what I expected. And eventually, they do get better technically because Vela, you're in that environment. But then in terms of like mental fortitude for you to like develop as a player, there's a lack of motivation. There's a lack of motivation that does like hinder you because with the Benny McCarthy scenario, Uguti, why he did well is because he went to Ajax and then he went to Porto and then he went into the finals of the Champions League. So that motivation and also with the tangible results of him having a trophy. It also counts.
Okay. For time, I'm going to jump in. I want to bring in Usinje. Showstopper, welcome.
Alala.
Where do you sit on this showstopper?
Alala. So we say no to alcohol and all alcohol-related things. Like I'm calling Black Label Cup. We drink water. We promote water. That's what big teams do.
But I'm Quell Cup and it's going to be tough. I'm just saying.
Listen, Mr. Oti, look, I think it depends, you know. And I think Raman Pachela said this, I think, on an interview also with Andy to say, with Mazola. I think he was also talking when we were talking about this new scheme that they have started promoting wealth for players as well. You know, that we treat things differently. We can't bucket everything as one. If you're looking at the three big teams with Chiefs, Pirates, and I'll also put in Sundownish. It's not. No. Jokes aside, Sundowns can be the most successful team in South Africa, but in terms of creating a persona beyond the field and beyond the team, they are not. They're not there yet. If you look at Kekana versus Chabalala after football, both are legends from two different teams, but in terms of wealth accumulated outside football, they are worlds apart. If you take, for instance, Chabalala as a case study, we didn't go overseas, and you look at where he is, the brands that he works with, the amount of wealth that is accumulated, the lavish, Mr. Fish and Chips, the brandings that he has worked with. being the ambassador of Betway as well. You look at the brandings that that he works with. You'll find that he will be standing shoulder to shoulder with Abo Pinar, with Abo what's this guy, Abo Fortune, Abo Bradley Canel, all these superstars that we produced South Africa in terms of where they are in life, in general, you know. There are those that we produced in South Africa that have fallen down the cracks, that we don't know where they are, the kind of lifestyle they live as well, you know. So South Africa, there is an opportunity for you from a holistic aspect where you can make it if you don't go overseas. But as I also say, you'll have to be in one of these two teams, your Pirates, your Chiefs, and your Sundowns, you know. I was saying to a friend of mine, if Bradley Kolpler, out of those 100 goals, if he
did that for Chiefs,
if he scored those goals for Chiefs, he'll be a god by now. He will be a football god in South Africa.
Yeah.
That's just to show that the marketing aspect of the club that produces you and brings you to the limelight, how important it plays in answering your question, whether it's worth it or not. You know, the club that is putting you on the stage plays a huge role in answering that question as well. You know.
But to be fair, some of the people have come back and not done that. Some of them have been overseas. They got their monies. They came back. They struggled just like everybody else. But
that's why I'm gonna say, even overseas as well. It depends on the stage that you are standing on. You know, the question is, which stage are you moving into? You know, you look at Ngezana. Ngezana is a rock star. He is a rock star in that country. He is a rock star. You know, he because the stage that he's in, and the platform that he's in, you know, creates that. Blom was a rock star in St. Louis. He was a rock star. In that stage. So for me, the stage that you stand on plays also a huge role, whether it's worth it or not.
But for time, I just want to ask you though, Blom is in Vietnam now. It doesn't look like the stage helped him.
Look, I think the coaching in that stage also played a huge role. The changing of coaches in that St. Louis team. There was the coach that believed in him left. Then the new coach came in, and then the new coach did not like him for some odd reason, and then they changed. Look at Bradley Canel now. He's changed teams. He's gone to another team, and he did wonders on the new team. He's topped that Western Conference table. So as well, it also plays a huge role in terms of the stage that you occupy. Other than that, Mr. OT, is it worth it? I would say depending on the stage that you go to. It can be a yes, it can be no. Other than that, we are still saying no to alcohol.
Uncle CJ, let me go to Case Molly. Case Molly. Man, hey, naki off man. Ki off ke bafana wiki so ke monate. Tell me, Case Molly, o kena kae ko tabeng ena?
Wa tseba ha o bua ka gore didenye bafana ba ba ka kwa overseas ya re thusa. Somewhere somehow wa sheba didenye ya mfano pesitao. Hana kwela dlala bafana ba netsumkeni. Azange re thuse ka nix. In fact, nali greedy abatla wiketsa superstar a Mesa Lumesa. Mara a ke re kaofela di player di tlo tshwana le ena pesitao. Ke ntho ntle ya gore di player di tswe ka montle di thole wa bona go dlala hantle wa bona le bo di dideng tsa bona wa bona go go de we ba dlalang ka teng phela overseas ke bona the best re ba tseba il the best the way ba korang ka teng everything e ba etsang like ga enjoy ya bolo ya bona ya nnete wa bo so
So kopa o botsa case ball ha se taba ya hore ha ra iplanela ntwe eo.
Okay.
Ke taba ya hore e iketsaetse and then ha ba fitla ka kwa ai ba bona hore mantsela ya teng ka re bima too much instead of hore ka be let's say mfukeng re mo primile from when he was 12 hore ona o tlo ya overseas re tlo mplanela so unlike hore re dutse mona hana jwanong re no o tlo ya kae as a 21-year-old.
No, wa tseba hape problem ya rona ke eng ane hape ke gore ga tona nela di player haholo motho le motho o na ne tsela ya a tsamayang wa bo o tshwana le bo Pesita o ba tsamile bile overseas ba entse whatever e ba yentseng wa bona le ena rile lena o na mentality wa go ga fitla ka mole ke lwetsa 1 2 3 wa bo mana ke rata go ga ba ya kakwa ha ba tla ka mo ba se iketsa ditaba. It's not going to be fair o tshwana ile bafana na tse redlalla ona tse squad go latile ka kwa overseas and then wena ha o tla ka mo o tlo batla go tlo re shebisetsa ha o tla di player tsa rona ha o yetsene o batlo ba iwa no tshwana le ena mfano Pesita.
Yeah.
Na sa re sebeletse o re ke ngwena mebile a o sebeletsa na kwela dlala ha ke tsebe.
No nna ne ke botsa that's why ne ke botsa hore go itshwanela hore batho ba overseas ba kry di chelete tseo ba dlale dipolo tseo empa fela ba khutlele mo ko mzantsi o thola motho sa khutletse ko mzantsi and I are benefit that far.
No wa tseba hape le udima mo keng ane chelete ya ka molo e golo go feta le ya ka yi hape wa bo phela 100,000 ya ka kwa le ka matlotla e bangata eske ne ke tsoke o tama ka mentality wa motho go we dlala jwang twa phela ona motho o tlo jutsang ka chelete go go etse exactly
No, for time. Thank you. Case Molly. Yellow Black Sheep, welcome.
Sure, Prouty, it's been long, man.
It has been long, man. I saw you in another live today, but I'm not going to say which one. It's fine.
Yeah, but okay, I'd like to start by saying, please tell Lindo Pep that I'm pointing my finger on him. He must stop doing things like the old folks when they were doing in the olden days, whereby they portray Kaizer Chiefs as the only big teams or whatsoever. I saw him, he got a show there, he got Papawawa and PhD only. When we have Bobo and Hustler whom he can put there for Sundowns. Sundowns guys, but I'm just saying pass my message to him. I'm saying pass my message. Tell him that yellow black or pointer come now. Okay, when it comes to this topic of today, which is very interesting, is that I will start by saying it is good for the personal gain of the players in terms of money. It is good there. But
Mara, is it good? Is it good?
In terms of play, because they are earning in pounds, they are earning a lot of money, and the euro pays in weeks sometimes. But the problem is it doesn't benefit us recently in this year because of they are not going to those Italy, so they are going. Come again?
No, your network is cutting. Your network is cutting.
Oh, okay. Do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. What I wanted to say is that I think they should stay at home, and I think our PSL need to highlight the product which it is. Like I heard you in the one-man press when you said EPL once came with a slogan that we are the best in the world. when they started until they reach where they are. So I think our PSLs need to start by making these players the face of PSL so that the brand of PSL can be enticing. It can grow whereby the players they don't need to go outside in order to be known or to be the big brand, big players. They need to find the endorsement for these players so that these players can remain here, because they go there, but we are not benefiting anything as Bafana. Either than that, it subtract them. Like Pesitao, the way he was coming, and then he went, and then he dropped, and then Bafana never benefited from Pesitao in that way. But if he could have stayed, we could have benefited a lot. Like now, you see this thing of overseas, what he has done to Mofuke now. It has changed his mind. We are no more benefiting as we were benefiting as a country from his play, because of his mind is filling up with overseas, which I know he can go, but after 2 years, 3 years away, we are not benefiting as a country. It take our talent away from us. We are not going anywhere as country, because if they were going where they were going to be developed so that we can benefit, like the time of Mark Fish, Lucas Radebe, Penny McCarthy, we can count a lot. In those time, we were benefiting as a country by them going overseas. But recently we are not, because they come back very quick. They will tell you that our sport, our what. And if you can check, they go even to small leagues, but they are not playing. So that is our problems as a country. I don't think it is more important anymore to go to overseas. I think they rather remain here and be big stars of Kaizer Chiefs, Pirates, and Sundowns. They need to stay at home. Tell Lindo Pep, for the sake of time, I'm pointing him. He must call Bobo and Hustler in that show. Please pass my message. I beg you. But I beg you, pass my message.
Thank you, Yellow Flag Sheep. Before I let Leparana just come in, I really do want to have that conversation as well one day, where we speak about our planning for all this stuff. You know, I don't think we, again, have a roadmap for some of these players. I think the closest thing we had to a roadmap was maybe when School of Excellence was on fire, maybe when Ajax Cape Town was still doing what Ajax Cape Town was doing, right? You had sort of a line where they were going to go, what they were going to do, what to expect, how to prep them. But I feel like now anything goes. Anything goes. I saw Uranga Chivavairo has popped up in Saudi, I think it is, or one of those Middle Eastern leagues. About Judas Mosiame, he left and went to, forgetting the country, went to go play it, came back. Like, I feel like there's no roadmap, and sometimes when there's no roadmap, you're letting these guys go. The reason why maybe the younger players, they fetched them when they were 16, 15, 16, and they were doing well that side, is because there isn't an adjustment period when you're still younger. You know, that Russian thing, but we don't want people over the age of 25 because it's hard to learn a new language. I'd imagine that also going later on in your life is tough, especially if you're a star. Like if Relay leaves now, the treatment is getting right now in the PSL is not the treatment you're going to get that side. And maybe sometimes, hey, it's tough to then go back to that other thing. Abotoli have spoken about those things. I haven't spoken about those things, but part of the problem was that you're a star this side, back Tanda this side, Ukoko Nomkulu, your mother, everybody's close by. All of those factors play a role, and now you're plucking that person and saying, go struggle. I don't know. But anyway, let me bring in Leparalaches. Leparalaches, welcome.
Sure, my guy, how's it?
Good, thanks to you, my brother.
Kiemunad. A very interesting topic because first of all, you have to look at the two ways. You have to look at your personal growth, and also you have to look at the national growth, I would say the national benefit. But I think as from a player's perspective, and you also have to consider that these guys, they also have responsibilities like families, you know, they also want to have lifestyle, you want to enjoy, like Lena, I still wish to go to USA and have some moments there. So I would encourage the players to go overseas for different reasons. So like I just said, that there's other influence that are there, because even agents as well, they play a huge role because once he yada, why it's the pounds, and obviously from his incentives, then he can make a lot of money from you because of selling you to overseas. So for now, I'll say, I mean, let them give them a chance to go overseas. Like for in case Bonankota has gone to Saudi, he's getting a lot of money. He's getting game time. He's enjoying his life, and he's still young. Even like a flopper, he can still come back and can still play for Pirates or play for Stellenbosch, other teams. But considering that he's making a lot of money, he's even able to get a flight. The Atle Momzanti, Aushaba Pirates, Lala. I mean, ka weekend more dating, more Orlando Stadium. So it means unale a free cash flow. So like I just say, for now it's a clear trial to test yourself to see where are you at. Don't be on a comfort zone or Negedala Pirates, then I'm gonna be like Bojabu Lebo Mama. You must go obviously oversee and test yourself against the younger players that are good. I mean, I was watching game near Chelsea, Liverpool. I look at those young boys, but I was just like, yo, these guys level up on it is too high. How they take the ball, take on, the growth within at their age. It's amazing. That's what we want to see Bombokazi. He can be a good player locally, Remo Poker, but he also need to go there. I go Italy, I go Spain and test himself against the best. Who knows one day Mbogazi, as a player from Natala, from the villages, can be probably a Ballon d'Or winner. We don't know because we don't believe in ourselves. We still believe, those awards are meant for only those people, the white people. And I was so impressed when I saw Dembele winning that award because of it meant a lot. So we need to push more black people, more players from locally to go and test themselves, especially when they are young. Because when they are young, at least, even when they can fail, they can still come back home with a lot of pounds. As long as they are financial smart, they can still come back home and they can still live for a long time by the business and everything. So in my summary, I'll say let's give them a chance and let them go. If we need players to go there, let them go. But that doesn't mean that nationally we have to rely on them. Like Bafana was doing well at AFCON with local players. So for now, like I just say, it's both ways. Yeah, for national benefit, I don't think we really get what we want. But from a player's perspective, if I was a player and they say, do you want to go to England? Yes, I want to go there. I want to experience the snow. I want to experience how life, but how England. So I'll just say, let's just give them a chance. And if he's young, if he can fail, it's fine. I'll be happy. But there's still more room of improvement. But I'll say that let's not give them a chance to go overseas and enjoy life there, my guy.
Okay. No, Lepara, thank you so much. Lepara, cheers. Let me go to Malume Kuto. Malume Kuto.
Nasistongo.
I try to be healthy and then motore ke na le papalas ke go bo ai bar.
Mina ngithi uhlabile Mr. Uthi. Mara le ngoma ngecula because of le out le engaphansi. Angithi mapara jazz washa pa John Vuligate. But yeah, actually I was about to echo his sentiments, Mr. Uthi. But nakhona ngisho ukuthi khona inyingo yabe ikule show bayibuza bathi ukhetha overthinking orinda. Yabe lathi let me live the life George ngasho ngathi. Hayi lothi kwayithembi indoda. Lo muntu obelo wasilacaza sikhuluma into ezi important. Umfazi wathi kina or ke overthinking wathi bye bye guys. Shout out to you. Anyway, Mr. Uthi. Ayimoshanga now 2 seconds lengwenya. Angazi mayiboniseni nathi bye bye guys, I'm leaving. Anyway, Mr. Uthi, we have to know, Mr. Uthi, which is Kulmangani, Mr. Uthi. Firstly, I don't like the language that we are using, that we want to benefit from players. Mr. Uthi, for me, anginandaba ukuthi kungathiwa ngiyazirevela, ezinye ziyadelela, ezinye zi-kind, but ultimately, intwana zethu lezi, Mr. Uthi. And for me, I want to see them, Mr. Uthi, I want to read ukuthi intwana yasemzansi ihola 1 million per week. I want to experience intwana yasemzansi but finally we have players who earn enough to build hospitals. or but naya intwana ineskela ngara. I think we have enough foundations and enough tournaments. Now we need players who are going to elevate the standard, Mr. Oti.
Yeah.
You know, when I saw my teammate, I think I shared it in the group. When I saw my teammate Gamhaungkot, I was like, and it's a cheesy, it's a creamy. When I saw it behave like Gamhaungkot, in as much as it was disappointing, for me, it made me happy. Make it a team silver, Mr. Uti. I was like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I wanna see intwana ziphumelela to that point. Ukuthi cala imhlanyise kaMampela imali, and after that awakhiphe wonke ama-silver afake ama-brace. Uyabona ukuthi kaMampela intwana and inyuku ikhona, Mr. Uti. I remember watching ama-live kaBongani Zungu. Well, I wouldn't say intwana, that's my mate, but I remember watching his lives and seeing his Mercedes Benz and thinking, that's the life. That's the life I want for intwana zethu la eMzansi. Whether intwana yaseKasi, whether intwana yaseMarhonco, whether intwana yaseMasababini, whatever. I want the best for SA boys, Mr. Uti. I always see how Abo Messi, Abo Ronaldo. That's why I'm saying Kabanga Jongo Lepara right now. Abo Messi, Abo Ronaldo, Bacho Ronaldo nama flat, Bacho Ronaldo nama hotel gupi. I want that for TLP. I want that for Mfukeng, for Mtutuzi, Ushabalala. I would love to see that. Before Snakulma Motinas benefit, Mr. Oti,
Yeah.
I would love to see these boys live it up, Mr. Oti. Like, filthy money, Mr. Oti. Who's a tuel and don't in your Ginglin? Yeah, I understand. That's what I would love for these boys, Mr. And
Are
for
we
us to say,
are we taking it for granted though? Do we care about the boys like that to also make sure that it's not by luck that is happening? If you get my drift.
Formula icona, Mr. Oti. Formula icona, and a couple of people know the answers to this. And unfortunately, the formula that's presented for that life is not necessarily the one that's promoted the most. When you listen to Coach Pitso speak about Arab football, he knew which guys. Yekelani into advertiser yase Europe. Akunenyuku ngada. Inyuku.
Yeah.
You understand? And when you see another example, when you see Coach Steve, this is just an assumption based on things presented. When you see Coach Steve, Mr. OT, and you ask yourself, where did Coach Steve play?
Huge businessman in Turkey. Huge.
And then you see, where is Osimhen, a Nigerian player in his prime, going? Then you think, man, it's the money take. How much they just don't know. You understand? Certain people can advise how much it. Your Coach Pitso, who played in Israel, I think, as well. And
Cyprus,
Saudi Arabia.
I think.
Saudi Arabia, and I think it's Saudi Arabia, not Israel. And Coach Steve, who played in Turkey. Those are the people who can guide Amachi, that you say, especially what I was talking about, the grouping, to say, the way we celebrated Upesitao, Mr. Oti, when he joined Brighton, made English people uneasy. It made them uncomfortable. They could not fathom how this person is unknown to them and not made by them celebrated this much. So when you see how Saudi Arabia is happy to see us celebrate Unkot, it says to me, maybe our culture is not as much of a shock to them.
Yeah.
Maybe they're not so prideful to a point where they want to be destructive to anything that somehow threatens them. They are comfortable in their own skin. They even celebrate Unkota themselves. I mean, there are so many other pages that are jumping onto the bandwagon of using Unkota as an image. Maybe now, you understand, rulani. I think the Arab world is comfortable enough with who they are. They're not threatened. Maybe we should move our boys in that direction. And there's a lot of money, Mr. OT. Now, the problem in SA, when someone is next to us, when someone is here, we start saying, when I'm overrated, because you've been here for too long. And imagine, I want to lie and Connie pipeline. Today, Usaleng, Sasa Utito, Sasa Umfukeng, Sasa Uspelebele, Sasa Unkot. You understand? Maybe it's best for these boys to move as soon as possible. Because if ebola khona manje ifana ne TikTok, ha e sale ele ya music wa kgale hore o tlo ntsha pina ya kwaito e dlale the whole year from January. We know gore ke song of the year. No, pina e la 1 month go fedile. Ha e jetse 2 months ga sho yo le ngoma e wini dlala cima le ngoma. You understand? So even I'm a player, we treat them like that, especially Kubo Pirates. We want you gone as soon as possible. So I would say to the boys, if an opportunity presents itself, my boy, leave. Leave Saudi Arabia. Ubuye, Mr. Uchi, I would love to see about TLP driver my Ferrari. I would love to see Liz driver my Lamborghini. She with I don't know Simpsons.
Like Coach Steve.
Like Coach Steve, Mr. Uchi. And I
People
would love
don't
for us
know.
to go into a position where we start saying who's the highest paid South African in the world. We're not even having those conversations right now. But but as a disclaimer, if a player is extremely good, like Lepara said, I want them to challenge for the Ballon d'Or. Thank you, Mr. Uti.
Thank you, Malube Kutso. Aza, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, Mr. Uti, I'm good, and how are you?
I'm good, my brother. Where do you jump in on this conversation we're having?
Yeah, man, I just saw the topic that is going overseas worth it, and I was like, let me just jump in.
Oh, sure.
I feel like, man, yeah, like on my own personal opinion, I feel like players should go to overseas only if it's gonna be beneficial for their careers. For example, and also for the club that is owning the player, or that the player, you see, like for example, Urele. Selling, you saw the offer that Paris rejected from Russia. I mean, like, Rele is not a type of a player that maybe you can like sell to Russia. At least an offer must make sense, and also it must be a good league for the player. So I cannot just sell Urele Russia just because Russia is based in overseas. Yes, just because Russia is based in overseas, I must just sell him. Things that they might, for example, Chandra Campbell, I feel like that move was good for him. Even though he doesn't like get much minutes in the first team, but he shows that he is there and it is not there to add numbers. And I feel like Belgium is a good league for our players in South Africa, but it depends on the team that is interested in them.
Yeah.
So
do we do enough research? Do you think the agents and the players do enough research when they're looking at offers, Nabo? In general,
some do. I feel like some do and some don't. For example, Motaung CAF, I believe that the only reason he was sold to Saudi, he was guaranteed game time because that team doesn't have like much squad depth, especially in his position. I feel like, and also another thing is that some agents don't, because let's go to the case of Cassius Mailula. I feel like Mailula was sold there for money, because he had competition from Insigne, was playing for Napoli in Serie A, Italy. He had competition from Federico Bernardeschi, also from Juventus. Yeah. So I felt like maybe the agent saw that, okay, I'm gonna benefit money-wise. At the same time, those type of moves are the ones that are killing the players' careers, because Cassius Mailula, after that move, he lost his place in the national team. I don't think he played in his first season, in his debut season for Toronto, and then he moved over to Wydad. Yeah. So I feel like also some agents do it for their own pocket. They don't do enough research. However, I am glad though that Paris doesn't just sell just because an offer came from overseas. They first look at what type of league is the team good, and also I am also like glad that at least, like, let's say Rele is not handing in a transfer request just because he wants to move to overseas just for the sake of moving to overseas, because I feel like that's where we all get it wrong. That I want to move to overseas. Even if I'm moving to overseas, I'm going to Israel. For example, that boy Faiz Ibrahim from Stellenbosch, he's playing in Israel, I believe. I feel like that league is not even competitive enough, and I feel like him moving to that league costed him the place in the Under 20 World Cup, because he won the AFCON Under 20 with the boys. And ever since he moved to Israel, no one watches that league. No one is gonna be tracking your performance and everything, even though he's performing in that league, because I do see posts about him. However, no one is looking into that league. At least it would have been better if it was still maybe in South Africa and moved to Europe at a good time, at a better league where people are going to recognize him and are going to follow his career.
Do you think that do you think that the relay would make it overseas now if you were to leave? Do you think that there is still a pathway for relay to be world class? And I'm talking top.
I believe so. I believe so because I feel like Rele at some point, yes, him not moving to Europe this season, I think it did affect him a bit in his performances. However, also this season he's been playing mostly as a number 10. However, I do believe that as time goes by, he's going to get back his form, and I believe that he can perform at the top level in Europe. Because I feel like, yeah.
No,
I feel
finish
like
that sentence.
Yeah, I feel like he can perform at the top level in Europe because one thing about Urele, he's a player that has a character, and he does have like he's confident in himself, and that's one thing I like about him also. And I feel like he can make it in leagues like Belgium where Chandra is playing, let's say. Yeah, also I believe also, yeah.
For time, I'm just gonna have to jump in as a. I want to bring in Ray. Ray, ama bundles wathengile weslu. All right. Ray, what do you think of the topic?
Yeah, Mr. OT, yeah, I'm back, yeah. Yeah, the one and only analyst, yeah, Kaizer Chiefs, yeah. Mr. OT, yeah, good topic, I've been hearing some certain people, giving their own opinions, yeah, but, yeah, about certain things, yeah, but I feel like it's good for players to go to overseas, Mr. OT. Yeah. It doesn't matter which country, or, blah, blah, blah. Like, for me, the players, they need to take that risk. They need to take that risk. Not everything is about money. It's about, like, you need to be in a environment where, like, you need to be happy. You need to have fun, Like, in general, that guy just went to Orlando Pirates.
Nkotha.
Yeah, Nkotha. I saw how happy he is, when I was looking at these videos, I saw like how happy he is, Oti, that's the right environment. It should be there because also like TLB, I feel like TLB is going to be suited like at the English Premier League because you could see the body shape, Mr. Oti, like he has that thing, Vele, Oti, Vele. He protects the ball, he defends, like unenkani vele because umfukeni bazomceda lapho EPL bazomceda because they like you need to be strong, Mr. OT. There you need to be strong. Vele ulivikele ibhola lapha vele hey awuklalwa lapha. I feel like I'm an agent also they need to look uthi like if the player gets the offer they need to look at certain teams uthi okay here we have like 20, for example, 24 players. We are shorting with 5 or 6 players. They need to take them there. They need to take them there. Agents they must stop this thing to take players to certain league where there's players like 36, amount of players in that team. The players you won't get game time. Like they must stop this thing off. Like also me I want to get money. They must think about the players, because if they look at certain teams, and I don't underestimate any league, Mr. OT, I feel like every league is competitive in their own way, Yeah, that's the good thing, I love that thing. I hope like I'm under 20s, I'm at Jimbos. I hope like some of them they'll go to overseas because they deserve to go there, Yeah, Mr. OT.
Mara mina ngifuna ukubuza Ray. If nangumuntu usithi umfukeng is too small. Khona amajima amaningi, khona abo way what nabo supplement what. Why singamqali la to get him ready? Why are we still going to wait for him ngale for him to learn these things? What is it about that development part ukuthi singayenzi ngapha?
I feel like Mr. OT, some coaches like when it comes to development, like they're not really good. Some of them, others they don't sharp enough with them. They don't spend like quality time to teach them these certain things. Would say okay, like let me teach you this, but I 1, 2, 3. Let me spend time with you. Like sometimes it affects the players, because like it is what it is, Mr. OT, like certain things like it's also why, but when you look at in a different direction, like some things like are not meant to be for for certain players. Certain players don't be sharp enough here in Mzansi, but in overseas, like I remember Udo Nkezana, like when they interview him, like Metro FM, he said that they had to teach him the basic, just to make him sharp enough, because that's why like certain things he said that he didn't know, like I feel like the problem is some certain coaches they don't spend quality time with those players.
Okay. For time, I'm going to jump in. Guys, we're going to be moving into the final panel. Thank you so much to everybody that jumped in. Well, actually, not the final panel. I'm going to squeeze some people in that haven't spoken yet. But I think, again, that's my big question, guys. My big question is, Pirates is not a small team. Pirates is not a young team. Pirates is a team that's been around for a very long time. So if it's time for players to bulk and get physical, if it's time for players to do those things, and I know I'm speaking about Pirates, but a lot of the other teams, why are we waiting for an overseas team to do that? When Gezan is speaking about the basics, then surely in this day and age, we should be able to translate those things back this side. It was the conversation I was having with ABM right now, who was on the panel, that is it just we know these things, but we're not implementing them? So we know about all of the things everybody else is doing, but we are struggling to implement them. But we feel as though because we know the theory, we are now smarter or the gap is closed. So if Uril is lacking 1, 2, and 3, why are we not building 1, 2, and 3 for Urile? Why are we not saying then that, okay, Rile, scanning, we're going to get you an extra coach, or even Relay himself, we're going to get you an extra coach. There's guys all over that have done the sports sciences, that have done all of this stuff. I always point to the NBA. I love pointing to the NBA. Most of the stars in the NBA go and... most of the stars in the NBA go and they get themselves a shooting coach, or they go for, in the holidays, they'll say, okay, while we're off, KD, Kevin Durant, can I come train with you? Can I come do this? Can I come do that? I don't understand. And I hear you guys are saying that we are behind compared to top European teams. What's behind, guys? What's behind? Chiefs apparently has world-class facilities. Pirates, like I said, is an old experienced team. They play Cobo Orlando, they have FNP, they have all of those things. You're telling me that we are behind. Why are we behind? We use the same tech, we have the same catapult things, we have the same this, same that. Isn't that the question we should be asking then about ourselves as a country, to say, how come the players are not becoming world-class here? And I understand that some people are going to say the league, but if Ngezana has to go overseas in order for a team to sit him down and say, these are their basics, shouldn't we be questioning then our guys? But anyway, for time's sake, I want to bring in Ubabakazenzo Zendota. Welcome. How are you?
Well, thank you. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thanks. Tell me, where do you fit with this conversation we're having?
I heard you say we are behind.
In the comments, yeah, someone said, yeah.
Okay, yeah, and yeah. Okay, I think I'm inclined to agree, but behind according to who? Behind according to European standards? Because if we were to go back, way back we were able to send our players abroad and they would fit in without any question. I can mention Lucas Hadebe, I can mention Phil Masinga, Mark Fish. You can name them.
And even the players that have passed through here, Bopenjani, all of those guys.
Yeah. So how are we behind? Is it that football has left us behind, or are we more trusting in our skills, la Mzansi, where now you can see, the world is recognizing the South African League. Now people are able to know there are teams like your Mamelodi Sundowns, your Orlando Pirates. So yeah, it's I don't know. But what I say with these young boys, by the way, I'm a Pirates fan.
Okay.
Send them abroad. Umbogazi, I don't need him, and I don't need him at Pirates anymore. Send him abroad as soon as possible. Urele, send him abroad. And I think for them, it's not only just about football. It's about them changing their families' lives and making as much money as possible. One thing that we shouldn't, turn away from is that football is a business, and I want them to make as much money as possible. Once we see that you have talent, go boy, make money. Yeah, as much as we are football enthusiasts, yes, but then I wouldn't mind them being selfish and saying, I just want to make money. Like the move from Unkota, that I feel that's purely a money move. The boy should make as much money as possible. Good for him. I remember a player from Chelsea, the Brazilian Oscar. Oscar was doing well at Chelsea, and suddenly he went to China. Nobody understood that. That's purely a money move. So yeah, if the boys can make money, I definitely will not judge them, and I want them to make money, as much money as possible, especially the boy Umbogazi. He's umfana wasemakhaya, and I want him to change the stereotype. He's basically my OJ Mabizela.
But can I just challenge you there? Isn't there more money in being world class? Isn't there more money at the top? I mean, wouldn't we want Abo Bogazi, Abo Mfukeng, Abo Nkota, all of those players to get to a point where, Mfukeng is playing for Barcelona first team and we are calculating his salary in minutes, and it's still blowing our mind. Doesn't that go hand in hand with a little bit of quality? Are we not selling them down the river a bit too early?
Yeah, hey, but no, no. I'm sorry, but no. I think here's the thing with most European leagues and most European teams. Oh, okay. I have one case in point. Percy Tau.
Yeah.
Percy Tau was like our main guy, the talent that, that we could export and blossom, but then I don't know what happened. He was sold to, the English Premiership, and then they loaned him to the smaller leagues in Belgium. He did very well up until they called him back, but then he never really blossomed. And then he eventually went to Egypt. But Percy Tau, you know what Percy Tau did in our local league.
I hear you, but I could also speak about Benny McCarthy. He's got a Champions League medal. People are going crazy about Nkota's salary. At some point, I think Benny was making 500,000 rand a week. At the highest levels. Shouldn't we be aiming for that, man? Shouldn't we be aiming to put our players up there?
And with Upesitao, that's where we were aiming, but that's a different generation. That's a different generation to your Quentin Fortune, different generation to your Stephen Pienaar. I think I could say maybe has the world left us behind in terms of not recognizing our players that come from our league.
Okay.
Not saying they can't crack it at the the highest level, but does the world trust us, to produce those type of players?
For time, I'm gonna have to jump in, my brother. Thank you so much for joining.
All right.
Yeah, guys, I think the conversation, I guess, for me again is this is my problem. Okay, let me tell you what my problem is. This is my problem. We can all agree that Mfukeng is an incredible talent, but still has some developing to do. We can all agree that Mogazi is an incredible talent and still has some developing to do. We can all agree that Abo Nkota, Abo Vilakazi, Abo Shabalala, Abo Zwan, and all those guys. But what's happening for me is, think about it. I'm selling a player that is half cooked, and I'm telling a club to finish him off. But then at the highest levels, those guys have 16, 17-year-olds that are at the level of our 20, 21-year-olds. Why then would I want to pay an exorbitant amount of money to go fetch that guy, bring him in, run the risk of him adapting, run the risk of him doing well, run the risk of him acclimatizing to whatever's happening in the club, and take on all of that risk now? So again, the question I'm asking is, why is it that we don't have developed players right now? Why is it that we're not selling? I'm not selling you someone that you still have to chisel. I'm selling you somebody that has set the league alight, that is doing incredible things. They've scored X amount of goals. They've done all of that stuff. I'm giving you an asset, basically. Because for me, it just honestly still feels like it's a charity thing. We're going to the world and saying, hey guys, hi, there you go. Please. Here's a question. OT, give me one super we've made in our world-class facilities that can fit in any European club. That's what I'm saying. So if I'm saying that Stellenbosch is an HPC, world-class HPC, Tuks has a world-class HPC, right? Chiefs has some of the best facilities in Africa and the world. Abo Pirates, Nabo Sundowns, yes, it may not look that good, but they're not super far behind anything else. They use the same technology, they use the same ways of thinking, they use the same all of that stuff. Why is it that we are not developing these players fully? What is it about South Africa that we are not developing these guys fully? Why do they have to leave? You're telling me that Umuntu at a Pirates level, who've got everything similar to the world, right? The deals, I'm a Cox, I'm a technology, I'm a this. You're seeing they're even doing memes and things now. They're doing all those things. Look at everything that's happening around us. And you still have the question of why is it that the relay struggles at times with his positioning? Why is it that Ngezana had to go overseas to learn some things? That is my thing here, where I'm sitting back and I'm going, guys, we, with all due respect to other African countries, Egypt, Morocco, South Africa, in terms of the leagues, in terms of the admin, in terms of the teams, in terms of all of that stuff, you should be bringing out way more players that are at a high level. But we're not. And that for me is the question that I always ask. And maybe this is why I'm asking about this. Is overseas worth it? Because you have Mfukeng, who's an incredible player. Incredible player, Mfukeng, right? He's going to go overseas, and right now he's touched the top of South Africa. He's a star. He's the guy. He's the man. We're all looking at him. We're all praising him. We're all giving him all the stuff. Guys, when you go that side and you have to start, I think that's another thing. I think because we have not thought about the journey of it all, or we don't put enough credit into the journey. You tell me about Mohamed Salah. You don't tell me about Mohamed Salah when he first landed in Europe. You don't tell me about the struggle of, coming up and then working your way to Southampton and then making it to Liverpool and then doing all those. We don't speak about those things. We don't speak about Mohamed Salah, who started somewhere, went to Chelsea, got rejected, had to find his way, come back. Now he's the star that you see there. I think that's another conversation we're having, because we're expecting some of these boys to go from PSL directly to Manchester City, right? And unfortunately, when you're a foreigner, you don't do that. So now again, I'm sitting back and I'm going, Urile is 2021, right? We saw the path that Pesitau had to go down in order to just touch the English Premiership for 6 months. We've seen the path that Lyle took. We've seen the path that other players have taken. Why is it now that we're still half clutching with these players and not actually showing and having pathways? And it goes back to the conversation that I always have here on this show. Your star players are not star players because they all had the star player mentality and they were all whatever. There were structures and guidelines that made sure that they stayed within the path. They know that if you stay in this path, you will get to whatever. Springbok players know that from age 9, if I stay on a particular path, my chances of going to go play for the Springboks are this high. And even if I don't play for the Springboks, I know that I go from here to here to here to here to there. But then with us, it's luck, Joe. It's luck. Nkota just so happened to have a good season. Now we're sitting down and thinking about, where should he go? Mfukeng happened to jump up and do. Now we're thinking about, what should we do with Mfukeng? Bogazi literally has a year in first team football. 1 year. Where should we take this guy? Where should we do this? Meanwhile, you think Jude Bellingham was intentional? I see the word intentional. You think Jude Bellingham was intentional? None of that. He was 16 now. He was 15 now. Luckily with him, his father, former player, they made a move. But Abo Mbappe, Abo Henry will tell you about the academies in France that molded them and made them what they are. They'll tell you about those guys. There's no room to be. You don't have time to think about the thing about yourself and whatever. You're on a path. We have Hugo, your whole day is scheduled. Everything is planned out. Your whole life is planned out. Right? It's not down to, they were great. Maybe at the top level, your attitude and all of that takes you out or whatever. But getting there is not up to you if you can stay on the path. So that's why I feel like even this question, is it worth it to go overseas, struggle in some foreign smaller league, come back 3 years from now, maybe sort of dominate the PSL or play well in the PSL and then retire, when you could have just stayed in the PSL, made a lot of money? Like Mfukeng could probably make a ton of money being a Pirates legend right now. especially for him specifically. He'd make a ton of money being a Pirates legend. Does he have to go and do this and come back and do that only because asiplenanga? Nangu kesi asmailul. Great pathway, he was going well, he was doing whatever. Sekabuyile. Oh, not Sekabuyile. He's bouncing around now. They're looking for places because everything we do, Reeta now. Like I said, if Mfukeng's goal was to go to Pirate, it was to go, let's say, to England, and you know that England is a physical league. The physical building of Mfukeng should have started when he was 14, 15, right? If in a perfect world. Messi, when they got Messi from Argentina and they saw the talent and whatever's available with him, they started him on growth hormones. They started him on steroids and all of the different things that he needed to take. Okay, not steroids, but they started him on all of those things because they understood that, okay, from age 12 to this age, we need him to do 1, 2, and 3. And ideally, it needs to be like this. Go and speak to rugby kids who come from the big schools. Ne? Go and speak to rugby kids. Go and speak to any of the Proteas, any of the rugby guys that have made it to the Springboks and all of that. Ask them about their schedules since they were 11. Ask them about their schedules. Ask them about all of the stuff that went into making sure that they are world class. Go to the international players and ask them what went into making you world class. I just mentioned what had to happen with Messi. Right? Has any thought been put into all of that? Or is it that Umbogazi just so happens to have made it with the body? Sizabona Pambil. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Remember, the show is on every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 p.m. And if Chiefs, Pirates, Mamelodi Sundowns, Bafana, Banyana are in action, we will be live as well doing the watch-alongs. I have dropped 2 episodes of my podcast on Overthinking Football show on YouTube. So if you could please do me the favor of going that side and watching them, it does help, guys. The numbers and everything help. Thank you to everybody that contributes. Thank you to everybody that likes, shares, comments, guys. All of this contributes, and it's how we keep this on and how we keep doing this. It's all down to you guys helping me out. Watch the videos, share the videos, comment on the videos. All of that really nice, all of those really nice things, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you tomorrow at 8. Bye, everyone.